Topic 4, Measurement and Verification, MNV Plan 2, Part 2. Component 9 of the MNV plan is monitoring independent variables and static factors. So in the MNV plan, specify the person that is responsible to report and record the independent variables within the measurement boundary during the reporting period. It is very important to track and to monitor this independent variable as well as the static factor. So static factor is very important to do the baseline adjustment for the non-routine adjustment. Missing static factor always happen during the MNV process. So conflict may arise between the parties involved in the MNV project if the static factor is not properly documented and managed. Another component in the MNV plan is the expected accuracy. And since doing MNV involves many uncertainties, so the expected accuracy should be evaluated associated with the measurement, the data that you capture, the data sampling, and data analysis. The evaluation should consider the qualitative and quantitative measures of the level of uncertainty in the measurement and adjustment to be used in the savings report. So when you express saving should be expressed along with their associated confidence and precision level. For example, you not only report savings in kilowatt hour, but also with its associated uncertainty. For example, here savings are reported as 1000 kilowatt hour saving plus minus 20% of precision level at 90% confidence level. So what does this mean? The savings are estimated to be 1000 kilowatt annually with the true average saving value falls between 800 kilowatt hour to 1200 kilowatt hour. So there is uncertainty involved in the MNV process. So therefore we report saving in the tolerance. So this uncertainty and error in the MNV process should be recorded, and there is a way of calculating the precision level or tolerance, for example here plus minus 20% from the standard error of uncertainty involved in your MNV process. For example, from measurement itself, measurement error, sampling error, and also data analysis such as from the regression model. Component 11 in the MNV plan is MNV cost and budget. So in this section, we will learn about what are the MNV costs, what are the factors affecting the MNV cost, limit of MNV cost, and how to balance the MNV cost and uncertainty in reporting saving. When you do MNV planning, you should design to make sure that the MNV process will not incur more cost than needed to provide adequate certainty and verifiability in the saving report consistent with the overall budget of your ECMs. Commonly, since option A involves estimation, it will involve fewer measurement points, providing that the cost of estimation and inspection are not unusually high. Option A usually have lower cost but higher uncertainty than option B. Option B is more certain because it involves more measurement point, but a bit more costly than option A, because because you have to bear for the measurement cost. The cost of maintaining new measurement equipment in option A and B may make option C, the whole building, less costly for long reporting period. This is because option C use the utility bills where you can get it with a low cost. However, often the cost of extra meter can be shared with other purposes such as operational performance, real-time control, or to do the departmental sub-billing. And it may be less costly to use option C or D when multiple ECMs are installed than using option A and B to isolate and measure this ECM. Again, you have to go back to the objective of your MNV. If you just want to know the saving from all these ECMs, so option C or option D may less costly. Often option D, the calibrated simulation model, is the most time-consuming and costly. This is because option D requires staff with simulation skill. For example, Building Energy Modeling Professional (BEMP) by ASHRAE and Building Energy Simulation Analyst (BESA) by Association of Energy Engineers. So this is a professional certification available to do the simulation. Where professional with competency to do this simulation. And to do option D, you also need special software. For example, Equus and Energy Plus. Beside that, when you do option D, where you also have to calibrate your simulation model, so you also have to do actual measurement, which also involves some measurement cost in there. This table summarizes the cost governing factors of each MNV option. So for option A, the cost governing factor is number of measurement point, complexity to do the estimation, and frequency of reporting period inspection. Since option A involve less measurement point, so it requires frequent reporting period inspection. For option B, the cost governing factor is number of measurement point and the length of the reporting period, because option B involve you to do logging for a certain period. And for option C, the cost governing factor is number of static factors to be tracked during the reporting period, number of independent variables to be modeled for routine adjustment. So for option C, the key word here is static factor and independent variables. So remember, because option C has a bigger measurement boundary for the whole building, so static factor and independent variables are the main factors influence the energy use in option C. And for option D, the cost governing factors are number and complexity system simulated, complexity of your building to do the simulation, number of field measurement needed to provide the input data for the calibrated simulation, and the skill of professional simulator in achieving the calibration. Because it's not easy to get to achieve calibration, to get the calibrated models. So it requires people or professionals that have skill to do this simulation and calibration. So according to IPMVP, there is a limit of MNV cost. Yeah, this is because we have to balance between the MNV cost and also the accuracy of the savings reported. So according to IPMVP, total annual MNV cost to determine saving should not be more than 10% of the annual saving. And 3 to 5% of annual saving is a typical range for ESCO project costs. Yeah, so this 3 to 5% is from experience of professional who do MNV in United States. Yeah, so for Malaysia, I don't have the number, yeah, because MNV is still quite new in Malaysia. And the cost and accuracy trade-off should be met, and the acceptable level of uncertainty depend on the judgment of the people involved in the reporting saving. So it is very important that to balance the cost and the accuracy, and some trade-off should be made to balance this cost and accuracy when doing the MNV. This is the example of cost calculation that I obtained from one of these MNV book. Yeah, so you can see the description of the cost. So the base cost here comprise of materials and labor, and this is the markup cost, which is the design, 5% of the base cost, project management, overhead, profit, insurance. Yeah, so what I want to show you is this one, the MNV cost component. Yeah, so it put here as a 10% of the expected energy saving. So when you do cost calculation, you calculate the expected saving from your ACM, and you can allocate 10% of this from this expected saving as your limit of the MNV cost. How to estimate retrofit saving? So I give you an example here. Yeah, if you do energy audit, if you have done the energy audit report, then I think you will familiar with this calculation. Yeah, so this is how we estimate the retrofit savings. For example, here in this table, there are 5 ECM in this project. ECM1 involve 5,000 quantity, yeah, and the power for each unit is 0.1 kilowatt. Demand 500 kilowatt. Operation hour is 4,000 per year. So to get the energy kilowatt hour, so you multiply 5,000 quantity time 0.1 kilowatt per unit and time the hour per year, so you get the energy kilowatt hour per year. And then this is the retrofit data. Yeah, so the retrofit unit, the power is 0.05 kilowatt. You can see it's lower than the existing unit, and demand 250 kilowatt, which is also lower than the existing unit. Operation hours same, so to make sure you compare the same operation hour, so you will get a fair saving here. And then you calculate the energy by multiplying 5,000 unit quantity with the power per unit and the operation hour 4,000. So here is 1 million kilowatt hour per year. Then you calculate the demand saving kilowatt. So demand saving is 500 minus 250 kilowatt. So this is the demand saving. Annual saving 2 million kilowatt hour existing minus 1 million kilowatt hour. So you get annual saving of 1 million kilowatt hour. Then you calculate the same calculation for all the ECM 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, then you calculate the total demand saving and the total annual saving kilowatt hour. See, after you calculate the saving from the ECM, the expected saving from the ECM, now you calculate the cost of retrofit. And remember, the saving that you calculate in the previous slide is not the actual saving, but it's expected saving in your cost or budget calculation. Okay, now we calculate the cost of retrofit. Yeah, so you estimate the cost of your retrofit project. For example, here again the 5 ECM. Yeah, so you have lighting, motor, another motor, chiller, exit sign. Yeah, so the labor, there is a labor cost and the hardware cost for each of these ECM. And then calculate the total cost of this each ECM by multiply the labor and the hardware cost with the quantity of each of the ECM. So you have this total hardware cost, total labor cost, and this is the total cost of retrofit from your ECM. So this is just a simple, just a value that I got to show you the example of how we calculate the cost of the retrofit project. So you may have a different value or the cost of each of these ECM, or you may want to include other costs that involve for this ECM. So after you already calculate the expected saving in kilowatt hour and the demand saving in kilowatt hour, and you also already calculate the investment cost, now we calculate simple payback period. Okay, so formula for the simple payback period is simple. Yeah, so simple payback period equal to total cost over annual saving. So you can see from this formula, total cost is in ringgit, in the monetary value, in this case in ringgit Malaysia. So in that case, you need to have saving in ringgit or in monetary value also. What we call as the cost saving. Okay, so to convert the kilowatt hour saving to the cost saving, so you multiply with the utility tariff. Okay, for this example, we use utility rate TNB tariff C1, where the energy charge is 36.5 cent per kilowatt hour, and the maximum demand charge is 30.30 ringgit Malaysia per kilowatt. Okay, so again we use the same example. We continue the previous example. So we have all the 5 ECMs here, and this is the total cost for each of the ECM that we calculated previously. So how you calculate the annual saving, energy saving? From the annual energy saving in kilowatt hour that you obtain, that you calculated from the previous slide, you multiply with 36.5 cent per kilowatt hour. Same goes for the annual demand saving. The demand saving that you obtain from the previous example. If it's in monthly demand saving, then you have to multiply it with 12 months to get the annual demand saving. Then multiply with the maximum demand charge here, which is 30.30 ringgit Malaysia per kilowatt. Then you sum up the annual energy saving in ringgit Malaysia and annual demand saving in ringgit Malaysia to get the total annual saving in ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so to calculate the simple payback, total cost here, total cost 500,000 divided by 455,900 ringgit. So you get simple payback of 1.1 year. This means that after 1.1 year, you already get back your investment cost. So you can calculate the simple payback period for each of the CM. You can also calculate the payback period for all the ECM by dividing the total cost of the ECM with the total expected annual saving in ringgit. Okay, so to calculate return on investment, I provide formula here. So return on investment in percentage is equal to the net return on investment or the net profit from your ECM project divide by the cost of investment multiply with 100. Then you will get the return on investment. Balance cost and uncertainty. I keep mentioning about this. It is very important to balance the cost and uncertainty. So when you do the MNV, you will experience this to choose or to meet the objective as well as meeting the constraint and uncertainty that involve in your MNV project. So reducing uncertainty requires more sampling or operational data to be measured. For example, you want to have a good measurement. You want to have measurement that the value or the measurement that not deviate much. So you have to do more measurement and more sampling and operational data. And this additional investment, because when you do more sampling, more operational data, or to get more regression variables, so you add more investment to your MNV project, which is this means you add more cost to your MNV project. So this additional investment for lowering uncertainties should not exceed the expected increase in the value that you get. So an optimal M&V plan should be established for each project so that the M&V cost not become so high than what the accuracy of saving that you get. So the optimal M&V plan should iteratively refine the M&V plan considering the sensitivity of the saving, uncertainty, and M&V cost to each M&V design parameter. So you have to check and balance between the cost and the uncertainty. Of course, we want to have and want to report a very good accuracy, but to make sure that this not incur high cost to your M&V. So this cost, for example, you want to get a more accurate regression model where you need to have more variables to be included in the in your model. So you have to invest, and there is additional cost to get more variables data for your model. Another example, to balance the cost and uncertainty, for example, when you do sampling for lighting project, so you have to look if the measurement, the value that from your measurement deviate too much, and this probably because of the meter that you use is not calibrated, and then you have to do again the measurement to get a good or to get a better accuracy. But again, there is how should I say, there is a requirement or there is a standard provided by IPMVP to check whether your M&V already meet a certain accuracy of saving as required by the IPMVP. So from there you can check whether you already meet the minimum or standard of uncertainty required in reporting the M&V. But if you want to have more than the required uncertainty, you have to invest and require additional investment in the M&V project. Okay, let's look at the example balance uncertainty and cost. Okay, consider an energy efficiency project with the following expected saving and cost. So expected saving for this project as calculated is 300,000 ringgit Malaysia per year, and the M&V cost is 15,000 per year. Okay, the precision tolerance from the measurement tolerance of this M&V project is 75,000 plus minus per year at confidence level of 90%. So to improve the precision or tolerance to a smaller value, 21,000, because you found out that the tolerance or the uncertainty of your saving is deviate. So you want to have a more smaller tolerance to have a more precise and accurate saving. So you want to improve the precision to a better tolerance, to better precision in this case, with a lower deviation, yeah, of plus minus 21,000. Okay, the question here, what is the maximum level that the MNV cost can be reasonably increased? As you want to get a good precision, you have to invest. As we discussed earlier, if you want to have a good measurement, then you have to do more sampling. If you want to get a good modeling, regression model, and then you have to add more variables and you have to do measurement and to get more data variables, and these incur more costs. So the question here, what is the maximum level that the MNV cost can be reasonably increased? Okay, right? If you still remember from the previous slide, the limit of the MNV cost is 10% of the expected annual saving. So in this example, given the expected saving, annual saving is 300,000 per year. So 10% of this 300,000 per year is 2,000 per year. So to improve the precision level or accuracy of your saving, so you can increase the cost of your MNV to 30,000 per year. Component 12 in the MNV plan is on how the MNV will be reported. So MNV report should be prepared and presented as agreed and specified in the MNV plan. So basically the content of the MNV report it will be the same as the MNV plan. But in the MNV report, you will be presenting the actual saving, the results of the saving. So MNV report should at least cover the data of the reporting period, measurement period, energy data, and the values of independent variable. Description and justification for any correction made on the observed data, which is if you have changed any measurement procedure or any data, change in the data, which is the correction that you have made during the reporting, then you will mention it in the MNV report. The agreed estimated value for option A, the agreed energy price used for energy cost saving calculation, detail of baseline, non-routine adjustment performed. This includes the change in conditions since the baseline period, all observed static factor and assumption, and the engineering calculation used for the adjustment. So you should have this in your MNV reporting. And compute saving both in the energy value kilowatt hour and the monetary unit. Okay, component number 13 in MNV plan describe on how MNV quality assurance procedure that you will perform in your MNV project. These include define person responsible on the quality control, who will check the data, who will be responsible to do the quality check, the calculation, the measurement quality control, and the quality control should properly address uncertainty. to report and record all the uncertainty involved in the MNV. Archive all data including MNV plan. This is very important to keep all the data in case if you need to get back to the data, you have all these data. I give you an example. For example, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I involved in one MNV project in a hospital to verify a saving project from replacement of a new chiller. Okay, and then about end of last year or early this year, the hospital apply uh, for energy management gold standard to get 2 star from the ASEAN Management Accreditation Scheme program, EMAS program. And when they undergone an audit process for the energy management gold standard procedure, one of the things that the auditor was looking is the MNV report from the all the saving that they claim that they have made in that particular hospital. Okay, and there is a question on the MNV report that was produced, and for me to get back and to check back all the data and the procedure, I archive all the data and the MNV plan. So when I archive all this data, when these things happen, when the auditor require me to clarify or to give justification on the report, then I have all this data and I can represent all this data to the auditor. So it is very important for the quality assurance procedure for you to keep all this data safely. And saving report is verified by independent person who has not been involved in the energy saving. This is also very important. For example, myself is an independent verifier, so I don't involve as the ESCO, or I'm not involved as the building owner in reporting the saving. So saving should be reported by someone who doesn't get involved in the energy saving project. And you can refer to ISO 9001 that explain more detail on the quality management procedure. Okay, in component number 14 in the MNV plan is for you to describe if any MNV critical issue. For example, in this scope, the critical issue of the MNV is verification, technical verification, and also missing data. So we will look into 2 scopes of verification in the MNV process, one operational verification and another one verification by an independent verifier. These are the issues that always been discussed. And when you do MNV, the verification is not only on the energy saving, but also to do operational verification. To do operational verification, you will do some like a technical verification to see the functionality of the ECM or energy saving installation in the building. Yeah, so what usually we do is when we come for the kickoff meeting of the MNV project, so we will spend half day of going through the building and to look at the ECM and to verify the functionality of the ECM. Okay. Another issue with regards to the verification is verification by an independent verifier. So as I mentioned earlier, operational verification should be performed as part of the MNV project. And this operational verification activity should be accomplished through comprehensive commissioning of the ECM, measurement equipments, and affected systems supported by data analysis. Yeah. So when you do operational verification of the ECM to look how the ECM work, how it's function, so it should be supported with some data analysis or some measurement. And this operational verification should be completed before you do the MNV saving verification activity. Yeah. So like I mentioned in the previous slide, we usually do the operational verification when we first attend the kickoff meeting with the ESCO and the building owner. Yeah, so we take like a half day to go through the building and look at the ECM installed in the building and also to verify how it's work, how the ECM is function as expected or as what is claimed by the ESCO. For option B, a more simple visual inspection may suffice because when you do option B, it required complete measurement of the parameter involved for the retrofit isolation. So in such case, a more simple